Big exciting news as you start a Monday morning, as Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, is set to speak, and he will likely speak about your stimulus. It's a day in which there's renewed hope for multiple stimulus checks, extended FPUC, hazard pay, and more. And this is Early Mornings LALATE. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm here, you're here. The corn is in the set. I don't know what. And I really appreciate you for joining me on the 3 a.m., 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time start of Early Mornings LALATE, a 1-hour broadcast that starts with this and is followed up with another video shortly thereafter at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to the front of this channel and subscribe. Subscribe because we're approaching 300,000 subscribers. Also hit the alert at the front of this channel. Meantime, like this video. And if you want to chat with your fellow Purple Power, there's a live chat right to the right. One of the same ways in this direction. So you can live chat while watching this video, which is a premiere video. I appreciate you for joining me on a day in which there's renewed hopes across the board and big discussions about your stimulus checks. Let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news that you'll hear this morning is that Jerome Powell will be speaking about your second stimulus checks. And he'll be speaking just days after he gave a very stern warning that you need to have stimulus. I'm going to go over what Jerome Powell issued as a statement last time, why the president reacted so strongly in favor of that message, and how a repeating of that message today could change the balance of power. Let me get to the details. The details are that Jerome Powell has forever said that you need a lot of stimulus, but at some point it didn't really set in. And a few days ago, Jerome Powell appeared during a congressional hearing and said, you know what? You're just not giving enough stimulus. And enough stimulus is needed to get this economy going. Now, when we talk about a lot of stimulus, there's a stimulus for you. There's stimulus for businesses. There's stimulus for hazard pay. And what I loved about Jerome Powell's comments was that he said you needed stimulus for all different types of walks of life. Powell, in his speech just days ago, said that economic stimulus needs to include enhanced unemployment benefits, FPUC, stimulus checks to households, financial assistance for small businesses, which is like EIDL grants, and that would prevent a downward spiral in which job losses would reduce spending, forcing businesses to cut even more jobs. His comments at the time were to the National Association of Business Economics, and at the time he said, spend more, don't worry about it. What's incredible great news about it is that he made these comments, and shortly thereafter, within hours, the president said, you know what, I just heard Jerome Powell's comments, and with that, I'm confident to go bigger, go bolder, more stimulus right now, right here. Whether it was caused by Jerome Powell or pushed by Jerome Powell, the president's move from 1 to 1.3, well, from 1.3 to 1.6, and that 1.6 to now 1.85 was all the result of Jerome Powell's words. What were those words? The expansion is still far from complete. Too little support would lead to a weak economy and unnecessary hardship for households and businesses. Over time, household insolvency and business bankruptcies would rise, harming the productive experience of the economy and holding back wage growth. Jerome Powell thought that stimulus checks need to go out right away. And these were comments that he has said before. Hashtag MSC. The push of the Purple Power as you start the new morning on an early morning of Monday is to keep the heat on. Multiple stimulus checks need to land in your bank account, $2,000 every month for 6 months, or until the pandemic goes down or unemployment improves. Those two benchmarks, which were the benchmarks of the Harris, Sanders, Markey, Bill, all said that stimulus checks need to arrive every month until unemployment or the pandemic goes down. And those two benchmarks are the benchmarks of Jerome Powell as well. And that's why today's comments by Jerome Powell are such strong indication for MSC more than ever before. When Harris and Sanders said those two benchmarks, at the time we were in May. And at the time, we had only had April and May's unemployment numbers. About 8 weeks. About 8 weeks at 1 million new jobless claims per week. Well, guess where we are now? 30 something weeks of unemployment claims over about 850,000 per week. We're approaching 40 weeks. So considering the concern of Sanders and Harris at only 8 weeks into this, now we're approaching 40 weeks. We're not close to the virus being over. The virus may not be over until middle of next year at best. And unemployment has not improved. There's been no improvement in the unemployment number. So now more than ever before, you see the importance of MSC in the context of Jerome Powell's comments. Let me read a little bit more of what he said at the time. A prolonged slowing in the pace of improvement over time could cause typical recessionary dynamics as weakness feeds on weakness. What he said is that if you give just a little drip of stimulus, the economy doesn't move. That if you give a marginal amount of stimulus, a medium amount of stimulus, we start to improve, but very slowly over many, many years. Basically saying it'll take many years for this economy to rebound. And that if you do stimulus, a lot of stimulus, right away, very strong and very acute, that's reoccurring, that puts money into the American people's hands, the economy will rebound very quickly. Now, those comments were made in the context of yet another third wave of COVID-19. He still thinks this would work. The right thing to do and the smart thing to do in the long run is support those people as they return to their old jobs or find new jobs. Since it appears that many will undergo extended periods of unemployment, there is likely need for further support. These are comments several weeks ago, and at that time, President Donald Trump said, hey, we need this now more than ever. The longer it goes on, the more likely it's going to be lasting damage. Very stern warnings. These are stern warnings that you would hope that Democratic leaders have thought that we can just sort of hold on and give you a stimulus package when Biden comes in, if he wins, and give you the stimulus package next year, is not something that works. Every day I talk to you about what could happen in March, what could happen in February. If you don't have a deal now, and that the Democrats are trying to hold off for a deal when Biden comes in, and that the Democrats take the Senate to hopes of the Democratic Party, that ultimately by then $2 trillion of stimulus doesn't cut it. You need $6 trillion of stimulus. You need $7 trillion or $8 trillion. And what's important to understand is that you need a lot of stimulus. The longer it goes on, the more you need. Someone told me the other day, this is Powell speaking, there's no online preschool. So for many people, it's a lot of women winding up being in their home with young children who should be in school, who rather be preferred working. It's a real issue. What Powell says is that you need to do this correctly and do this right now. What's important to understand as you start the new day is that the president needs to do executive orders. He needs to do executive orders. He has the money for it. And that what's happening on Tuesday is a great concern of me because of what comments I heard from Mitch McConnell in his press release on Saturday evening. If you watched Evening to LALATE last night, I detailed to you that Mitch McConnell's talking about PPP as a standalone bill on Tuesday, and then another bill on Wednesday with a new round of PPP. The language is contradictory and seems to suggest, hopefully I'm wrong, that seems to suggest he's trying to potentially take your executive order money and use it to be repurposed as another round of PPP. People have asked me, can he do it? Absolutely, he can do it. And so that's something you don't want to have happen. Ultimately, there's going to be a lot of distractions this week, and the distractions are going to start today. And that's why there's going to be two videos. There's this video and then one coming up at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And in that video, I will be going over more of what you should see today and what you should expect throughout the next few days, but the focus remains at Purple Power, MSCs, hazard pay, extended FPUC. FPUC needs to be extended to the day in which it expired, late July. It doesn't need to be extended to September. That doesn't cut it. Let me answer some of your incredible questions from yesterday morning. Linda, well, we need stimulus now. People losing their homes, apartments, children are suffering because our politicians are dragging their feet. This is a real joke. I'm voting for anyone who's involved in this pandemic effort. I really don't care how long it takes. Vote them out. Melinda, they should just give us back checks for the last time we got it. Amen. That's the purpose of the Purple Powers push for MSC. Victor McDonald, $1,200 for a whole year is not stimulus. It's a birthday card from grandma. These politicians need to get real. That's why Jerome Powell's comments are so important, as Victor says today. Imagine being told you're being given a $1,200 check in October. Well, let's say it's November at this point, and that November check is going to cover you for the months of April till November as a stimulus check. It's not a stimulus check. It's not anything. And that's when you get a full stimulus check. The Temple of Doom currently proposes to give you $500 here for an adult dependent or a child. It's not stimulus. It's nothing. Mary Boone, we're tired of hearing what are they going to do. Debbie, they're hoping more people will be dead. Okay, let's not go there, Debbie. It's too early in the morning still. Julie, can we get a medical professional to officially declare that Pelosi's out of her mind? It's a little too early for that also in the morning. Maybe by noontime. Misty Posey. They don't care about us. They realize there's nothing else to say, but they don't care. Cynthia Cooney, 7 months, not long enough for people to go through their savings, max up their credits, mess up their credit. Sherry Johnson, if they're not willing to give us the money, they shouldn't be willing to vote. I love that. What do you think? Drop them in the comments below. Drop them in the comments to the right. The wonderfulness of a premiere video like this on YouTube is you can see other people's comments. You can see other people's reactions to the Purple Power, and you can see whether they agree with you on $2,000 every month for 6 months or until the pandemic settles down or unemployment improves. It's been 6 months. You would have had $12,000 by now. And you would still be receiving $2,000 per month, and you would still receive it next month because unemployment has not improved and the pandemic's not going away. In fact, you know what? It forces politicians to fix unemployment. It forces politicians to understand that unemployment is the benchmark, not jobs creation, not airlines, not hospitality. It's jobless numbers. And the more we go every week to week with 800,000 jobless claims newly per week, there's a problem. And the problem needs stimulus. With that, there's so much to be excited for this new morning. I'll have more on Morning to LALATE at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But meantime, join me on the next video in minutes from now at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, in which I go over what the other reactions will be to your stimulus this Monday morning. And I have comments from Nancy Pelosi overnight that give new inspiration that potentially, just potentially, a deal may be hatched between today and tomorrow. Let's see. Go to Fun's channel, subscribe. Subscribe because we're going to get through this together. We'll remain focused and we'll remain dedicated and we'll remain on point. Also, like this video. Coming up at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is that video. See you then.